A religion that gives nothing, costs nothing, and suffers nothing is worth nothing. Faith is a living, daring confidence in God's grace, so sure and certain that a man would stake his life on it 1,000 times. This confidence in God's grace and knowledge makes men glad and bold and happy in dealing with God and with all creatures. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. Peace, if possible. Truth at all costs. Peace is more important than all justice, and peace was not made for the sake of justice, but justice for the sake of peace. I'm like a ripe stool. The world is like a gigantic anus, and soon we will let go of each other. Every man must do 2 things alone. He must do his own believing and his own dying. A Christian man is the freest lord of all and subject to none. A Christian man is the most dutiful servant of all and subject to everyone. We must be willing to suffer and to labor and be given over to the service of others. Everything that is done in the world is done by hope. Whatever your heart clings to and confides in, that is really your God. You are not only responsible for what you say, but also for what you do not say. A preacher must be both soldier and shepherd. He must nourish, defend, and teach. He must have teeth in his mouth and be able to bite and fight. The God of this world is riches, pleasure, and pride. War is the greatest plague that can afflict humanity. It destroys religion. It destroys states. It destroys families. Any scourge is preferable to it. The gospel cannot be truly preached without offense and tumult. The word of God is a sword, a war, a ruin, a stumbling block, a destruction, a poison, and a fire, and it is the nature and business of the word of God to be so. I more fear what is within me than what comes from without. I am much afraid that the universities will prove to be the great gates of hell unless they diligently labor in explaining the Holy Scriptures and engraving them in the hearts of youth. I advise no one to place his child where the Scriptures do not reign paramount. Faith must trample underfoot all reason, sense, and understanding. You can't stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from building a nest in your hair. Grant that I may not pray alone with the mouth. Help me that I may pray from the depths of my heart. I have held many things in my hands, and I have lost them all. But whatever I have placed in God's hands, that I still possess. Next to the Word of God, the noble art of music is the greatest treasure in the world. It controls our hearts, minds, and spirits. A person who does not regard music as a marvelous creation of God does not deserve to be called a human being. Let the wife make the husband glad to come home, and let him make her sorry to see him leave. There is no more lovely, friendly, and charming relationship, communion, or company than a good marriage. People without a sense of humor are like dried fruit, perhaps attractive at the time of harvest, but later repugnant and boring. I frankly confess that for myself, even if it could be, I would not want free will to be given me, nor anything to be left in my own hands to enable me to endeavor after salvation. Not merely because in the face of so many dangers and adversities and assaults of devils, I could not stand my ground, but because even if there were no dangers, I would still be forced to labor with no guarantee of success. Reason is the greatest enemy that faith has. It never comes to the aid of spiritual things, but more frequently than not, struggles against the divine word, treating with contempt all that emanates from God. The mad mob does not ask how it could be better, only that it be different. And when it then becomes worse, it must change again. Thus they get bees for flies, and at last hornets for bees. I shall never be a heretic. I may err in dispute, but I do not wish to decide anything finally. I cannot and will not recant anything, for to go against conscience is neither right nor safe. Here I stand, I can do no other.